We're going to go over the first of all, we're going to start with is the 3 different ways of valuing properties. Okay. So, we all learned this when we got our real estate licenses way back in the day, but let's go ahead and put it in the chat, right? Let's talk about the 3 different methods of valuing properties. Can anybody tell me? Can anybody name all 3 methods? Go ahead and throw that in the chat. Let's see what we got, guys. Come on. Let's see what we've got. Okay. We got some good stuff coming in so far. Jimmy comes up with cap rate. I like it. Okay. We're in the ballpark. Okay. Todd says replacement. Love it. Love it. Okay. Good. What else we got, folks? What are the 3 ways of valuing a property? Residential agents that are here, you should know one of them like the back of your hand. It's a 4-letter word. Oh, look at this. Sales comparison, income approach. Way to go, Veronica. Get it. Comps for sure. Yes, absolutely. Income, cost. Exactly, guys. Okay. So we got our cost approach. We got our comparative sales, right? And you got your income approach, right? Cost means nothing merely more than what would the replacement cost of this property be if a hurricane knocked it over and you had to build it back again? Well, that's not something really that realtors use a whole lot. It's more for insurance companies, if you really think about it, right? The people that have to care about what the replacement cost of the building is are people that have to insure it in the event that something gets damaged, okay? So let's talk about the other 2 methods, okay? Well, residential agents, they always use comps, right? Comps stands for comparative sales approach, right? Which is nothing more than what happened to my neighbor's house, the value that my neighbor's house sold for has some sort of indication of what my house will sell for. Now, there's different ways of adding and subtracting for if they've got more yard, or if they've got another bedroom, or if they've got a pool, or if they've got an extra bathroom, what have you. There are ways of figuring it out. And believe it or not, it can oftentimes be pretty accurate, So what's interesting, folks, right, is we've got the cost, replacement cost approach. We got the comp approach. What we're going to be talking about today is the income approach. And what sets commercial different than residential is, right, the income approach. Now, people say, what's the value of the property? And I say the value of the property is dependent upon whatever it is you are bringing in income. Now, I'm going to give you a perfect example. 2 buildings side by side. One of them is 10,000 square feet. The other is 10,000 square feet. They're owned by 2 twin brothers. They were built by the same developer in the same year, and they're in the same relative condition. Okay. This building A brings in $100,000 a year. Building B brings in $75,000 in a year in NOI, right? Net operating income. Can anybody tell me which building is going to be worth more? Okay. So go ahead and type it in the chat. Which one's going to be worth more? This one brings in a net operating income of $100,000. This one brings in $75,000. Tell me which one's worth more. Okay. Building A or building B. Okay. The one with the higher NOI. Exactly. Why? Because when you do the income approach, it's based on what's called a capitalization rate. So whenever anything has a higher value, okay, nobody cares what the price per square foot is. In this case, both buildings were same size, built by the same person, with the same in the same year. The condition was the same. The only thing that was different is that this one had a higher NOI. Okay, so the one with the higher NOI, all things being equal, okay, will then bring the value of the building property higher. Now, something that's interesting, right? I'm going to give you the same example. Here's what's cool. Let's start thinking about this a little bit deeper. Remember, folks, income. Now, this is a writer downer, guys. I'm about to drop some gold on you. I don't care whether you're selling apartment buildings or warehouses or retail locations or you name it, okay? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, all you have to remember is money comes in the form of rents, money goes out in the form of operating expenses, right? The expenses incurred with the regular recurring operations of the building, right? And what's left over is called net operating income. Super duper simple, okay? Money comes in, minus the money that goes out, whatever's left over, that's your NOI. Okay. And then what you do is you apply a cap rate to the NOI. So let's do a real simple example. Okay. You've got $100,000 of NOI. You have $35,000 of operating expenses, right? Sorry, let me take it back. You have $100,000 of gross rent. Okay. We're going to make it real simple. You're going to subtract out operating expenses of $35,000. What is your NOI? All right. I'm going to break it down real simple so far. Okay. Let's see what you go ahead and put in the chat. Boom, 65,000. Exactly. Because 100 minus 35,000 equals 65,000. Love it. Okay. So step 2 is, all right, great. Now that we took the rents that came in minus the operating expenses equals the NOI, the next step is we're going to apply a cap rate to it. So just for the sake of a very simple example, we're going to take 65,000. Okay. You see that there, folks? All right. And we're going to apply a 10% cap rate to it. Okay. So divide by 0.10. So if investors in the local area were buying at a 10% cap rate, okay, what would the value be? I'll give you guys a few seconds for that. So Garrett, Stelina, Nika, Arminder. Okay. All right. What do we got? So remember, take 65,000 and you're going to divide it by 0.10 and you're going to get 650,000. Right, guys? Okay. Why? Because you take the NOI, you divide it by the decimal form of the percentage, which is 0.10. Okay. And you are given a value of $650,000. Does that make sense for everybody? Right? Yes, it's the thing that you multiplied. All good. Yeah. So you just have to divide out. Okay, guys? So type a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. We're going to take it real slow, and then we're going to get a little bit more complex as we go along. Okay? Awesome. Yvette's with me. Hey, Yvette, nice to see you. Garrett's with me. Timothy's with me. Sweet. Okay, you guys are with me. All right, sweet. Now, let's do another approach, right? Let's do same exact thing. We're going to take the same exact NOI, so 65,000, right? You got me? Okay. Now, what would this building be worth at a 7.5 cap? Okay. So let's go ahead and write in the chat what this building would be worth at a 7.5% rate of return, or a cap rate of 7.5%. Go ahead and throw that in the chat. I want to make sure you guys are getting the principles. Let's see what we got. Harminder comes up with 866-666. So does Alicia. So does Fern. So does Ryan. Love it, guys. Love it. Good stuff. Okay, cool. All right. So how many of you guys ever rode a seesaw when you were a kid? Right? Right. Because the concept we're about to talk about has very much to do with riding a seesaw. Okay. Now, a lot of people, it's a little bit strange because the relationship we're going to talk about is the relationship between cap rate and value. Okay. So imagine 2 little kids on a seesaw, right? I don't know if you guys can see that too well. It's right in my face. Okay. So, right. Value goes, so remember what happens. One kid goes up, the other one has to go down. Okay. The cap rate, right, and the value of the property, they're going to be inversely related. Okay. So given the same NOI, okay, right? Remember what just happened, folks. When we looked at the property with the same NOI, okay, we dropped the cap rate. Okay. We went from a 10 cap, right, to a 7.5 cap, right? So what did that do to the value? It went from 650 to what, right? What happened to the value? Did it? Okay, go ahead and type it in the chat. Okay. Ooh, Alicia, quick on the draw. Love it. Increase. Exactly. It goes up. Remember, cap rate goes up, value goes down. Value goes up, cap rate goes down. Very simple. Okay. So the same building, right, with $65,000 of NOI, if you continue to lower the cap rate, what happens to the price? It continues to go up, right? So if hopefully that's helpful, guys, right? So just think of kids on the seesaw. Cap rate goes up, value goes down, value goes up, cap rate goes down. Okay. A lot of people, it's so weird because it's kind of like it's what's called an inverse relationship. Lewis, you hit it right on the head, right? My man Lewis from New York, right? So what it is, guys, okay, what it is a very simple relationship. And as soon as you get it, you can understand all the ways you can manipulate it. Now, so what we want to do, Damon, is what stands for capitalization rate. When you capitalize a number, right, what you do is you take the NOI and you divide it by the capitalization rate. Now, let me tell you a little bit about how like cap rates are derived, okay? So if you really think about it, a cap rate is nothing more than the relationship between a building's NOI and its value. That's it. That's the strict definition of cap rate. People sometimes like call it rate of return and this and that. And like, if you want to be real strict about it, it's a snapshot in time of the relationship between a building's value and a building's NOI. You guys with me on that? Okay, cool with that? All right. Now here's the thing, right? Depending on where you are, cap rate is going to be different. Like you can't just say, oh, what's the cap rate of Atlanta, Georgia? Well, it depends. You know, are you in an A-class neighborhood? Are you in a C-class neighborhood? Are you in the hottest neighborhood that's up and coming? Are you in a neighborhood that's on its way down, right? What I always tell people is value is in the eye of the investor. Just like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, value is in the eye of the investor. And here's what I mean, right? Two people can look at the exact same property and one guy says, oh man, this thing is going up. This is amazing. I'll pay a 5 cap for it. Someone else will look at it and say, oh my gosh, this neighborhood is a dump. It's going down. Forget it. Get me out of here. I won't touch this thing for less than a 12 cap. Well, guess what? They're looking at the exact same property with the exact same NOI, but they have different outlooks in terms of the risk. Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit. Can anybody tell me what the commercial lending rate is in your area? We're going to talk about risk now, folks. Okay. Because cap rate has to do with risk. Think of it this way, folks. When an investor goes to market, right? What do? They trade their money for risk. That's it. Okay. And the higher the risk, right? The higher the reward. We've all heard that before, right? Banks. What do banks do? Banks trade money for risk. Okay. So at the end of the day, what you want to understand is that people, okay, so Stelina says that the 7.75 to 8%. Now, Stelina, is that the cap rate or is that the commercial lending rate? Okay, and I'll tell you why. It makes a difference. The lending rate. Okay, good. Because I just Googled it for here for like South Florida, and we're at like 6.2, right? Which means I can borrow money at 6.2% and go out and go find a property that produces some sort of income. Now, here's the thing, guys. There are going to be 3 answers for the next questions. It's going to be good, bad, or neutral. Okay. I'm going to borrow money at 5% and I'm going to buy a property that brings me 8%. Okay. Is that a good, bad, or neutral investment? Okay. We have Katerina says good. Okay. Good. Okay. Yep. All right. Anybody on the Facebook side? Okay, good. All right. Now, Kathleen, remember, I'm paying 5% for the money that I'm borrowing, and I'm putting it into investment that's making me 8%. So I'm making 3 points of what we call spread or margin, right? On the money that I borrowed, right? So we're good. Okay. So now let's go back to the same basics. You're borrowing money at 5%, okay? And then you find a building that brings you 5%, okay? Is that a good, a bad, or a neutral investment? Let's think about that. Hey, what's up, Tony? What's up, Cindy? How are you? Nice to see you guys. Okay. All right. If you said neutral, you were correct, right? Because when your cost of funds is equal to the return on the building, guess what, guys? You're basically breaking even. Now, here's the thing. You get 1 heating unit breaks. You get 1 tenant defaults on their mortgage. Defaults on their rent. 1 tenant moves out in the middle of the night. one water main break, you name it. There's like a list of as long as my arm of things that can happen with owning a commercial property. And what happens is there's no margin for error. Okay. So you'll never want to borrow money at 5% and buy a building that brings you 5% return. Why? Because there's no zero margin for error. Okay. And things do happen unless that's what's called a zero cash flow deal, right? The only time that works is if you have reason to believe that the market is going to take off incredibly, like you're going to have some major capital appreciation. That's the only reason why you would ever want, or I should say, one of the few reasons you would ever want to have something. You borrow money at 5% and you buy something that creates a 5% return, or unless you can increase the rents drastically. Okay. Now, all that being said, next step is you borrow money at 5% and you buy something that brings you a 3.5% rate of return. Is that going to be good, bad, or neutral? Let's see what we got here. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, you guys are with me. All right, got it. Good. Okay, so here's the thing to remember, guys. You always want to have, if you borrow money, you want to have a higher cap rate than what you call your cost of funds, right? Why? Because you have to, that's your margin of error, guys. That's your safety. That's your buffer, whatever you want to call it. In the lending world, they call it spread. Okay. Now think of it this way, folks. What you want to do, you want to have 1.5 to 2 points of spread above your costs of funds. So let's just talk about my market here. Let's just round it from 6.2 to 6. Right? You borrow money at 6.2%. What's the minimum you'd want to have purchase a property at if I'm borrowing money at 6.2%, knowing that I need 1.5 to 2 points of spread in order for the deal to, number one, make sense, and number two, give me a margin of error in case a tenant moves out, in case the property taxes go up, in case there's building renovations that are unforeseen, in case of a hurricane, who knows, right? What are we looking at for that? Okay, if I borrow money at 6%, right? Where would you think I need to be? Okay, if I need 1.5 to 2 points of spread to make me feel comfortable, right? That's about what I'm looking for. Okay. Okay. All right. Good. All right. Ekaterina had it. Boom. Damon has it. Okay. Alicia's got it, right? 7.5 or higher, 7.5 to 8. That's where the investment starts to make sense. Okay. What we don't want to do is we don't ever want to get with too small of a margin, because if something happens unforeseen, next thing you know, you're upside down. And we saw a whole lot of that in 08, 09, 2010, right? A whole lot of people overextended themselves. And next thing you know, they're sucking wind. Okay. So bottom line here is, folks, what we want to do is we want to make sure that our cap rate is higher than our cost of funds. Okay. So now that we understand what makes sense, would it make any sense to borrow money at 5% and get a building at 6%? No. And what's crazy is most sellers, guys, like for those of you that are looking at this from a like an agent or a broker standpoint, what you'll notice is most sellers do not understand these concepts. Most sellers, frankly, don't care what these concepts are, but it's our jobs. It's incumbent upon us, if we are good real estate professionals, to be able to show people what the value of their property is. Their property, I cannot tell you, you'd be amazed, the people that own $1, $2, $3 million worth of commercial real estate. And guess what? They don't even know how their building is valued. They think because their neighbor sold for $1 million that theirs is worth $1 million. And it's just not the case. So if you want to take more listings, you want to take listings that are actually priced to the market, type a 1 in the chat if that's something that you guys want to do, right? Type a 1 in the chat if you guys want to take listings that will actually sell. Why? Because they're actually at a price that the market will respond to. Can anybody tell me what will be a price that the market will respond to? You take what it'll cost you to borrow money, you add on 1.5 to 2 points, and that's going to be a reasonable rate of return that they're looking for, right? Exactly. Yes, exactly. Most building owners, Jimmy, you hit it on the head. They just don't know. They just don't understand, right? And that's why a lot of them, they sold their house, and because their neighbor's house was worth $350,000, therefore their house was worth $350,000. Here's the other thing, guys, and it's a little joke that I like to tell. All right, most building owners, have what you call beautiful baby syndrome. Okay. Think of that child of yours, that grandchild of yours, that niece, that nephew, that little brother, sister, whatever. Think when they were small and they were these little toddlers running around. Were they not the cutest little thing ever? Right? Weren't they cuter than everyone else's niece, nephew, son, daughter, grandchild? Right? You guys with me? Okay. Guess what? Everybody thinks the same way about their property. I call it the beautiful baby syndrome. Everyone's baby is just a little bit cuter than their neighbor's baby, right? No one wants to believe that theirs is just worth what everyone else's is worth, right? So just remember, the owners get caught up in this, and it's our job to show them how value is actually derived. Okay. So what I want to do a quick run through with you guys, if that's okay. Is it okay if I show you a spreadsheet, and then if you guys want, I can give you a copy of the spreadsheet so you can take these ideas and implement them at home? Would that be helpful for you guys? Type a 1 in the chat, or type an exclamation point in the chat if you guys want to get a copy of my spreadsheet so you can start underwriting properties and actually show people when you're in front of them exactly what it takes to value a property. Okay, they're lighting it up. Denise says, yes. Okay, cool. Karen's with me. All right, sweet. All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen, guys. So hopefully you guys got a good understanding of... Okay, is that showing up? There we go. Is that working now, Garrett? Okay, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. Okay, cool. All right, and by the way, good on you, man, coming to Monday nights. This is one of the best presentations we do because it helps you understand how to value properties, right? The number one thing. You can have the best property in the best submarket. You could be the slickest, the most silver-tongued devil, when you get to your listing presentation. But if you don't know how to price it, it will never sell. Like I said, it's like asking $25 for a $20 bill. No one's ever going to give it to you. Okay. So guys, the way I created this, right, is for you to understand how to underwrite a multi-unit building. Okay. It doesn't matter whether it's 6 units or 60 units or 600 units. The principles are still the same. Okay. Money comes in. Okay. So, which gets added up in here. Money goes out, okay, and then you apply a cap rate to it. Remember, rent comes in, operating expenses go out. What's left over is your net operating income, and you apply a cap rate to it. Remember before we talked about $100,000 in gross rent minus operating expenses of $35,000. That left us with $65,000, and then we applied a cap rate initially of 10% to get a $650,000 value. You guys all with me on that one? Just type in the chat. Just type a 65 in the chat if you guys remember that. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Just want to make sure we are all on the same page. Cool. Sweet. All right. So what we're going to do here, folks, right? If you want, you can take this sheet. The cool thing about this sheet, guys, if you want to add in 10 rows, you can. You just highlight this here and click insert, and you just put in new rows, and you just go like this, and you just drag this down. It makes no difference. Actually just go like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever you want to do. You can put as many rows as you want. But what I'm going to do is we're just going to keep it real simple at like 6 units. Okay. But just so you can adjust this, and everything else adjusts downward. Okay. So what I want you to see here, guys, is let's go. All right. I want everybody to start typing in the chat. I need 6 people to tell me what a 1 or 2 bedroom unit is worth. Just type 1 BR and what it's worth in your market. And I'm going to go plug this into the sheet so you can see how this sheet works. So let me know what a 1 bedroom unit is. Start typing in the chat, guys, what a 1 bedroom goes for in your market. Okay. Todd says 1,200. Sweet. Okay. We're going to put in a 1,200. Okay. What's another one? Karen says 1,500. Sweet. Thank you, Karen. Garrett says 2 bedroom Orlando, 1,600. Love it. Thank you, Garrett. Boom. We got 1,600. Okay, Olga says 2,400. Let's go for a 1 bedroom because Olga is in Miami and things are expensive here in Miami. Lord knows. Okay, Tuyen says 1,300 for 1 bedroom. Okay, so what we'll double that for the 2 bedroom. How about that? And that's 2,600. Okay, and then one more. Nika says 3,500 for that 2 bedroom. Sweet. Okay, here we are, guys. I don't know if you were paying attention, but as I was putting these numbers in, not only did they all add up here, but they multiply by 12 here. And look at this. This 153,600 actually gets inputted here automatically. Okay. When I built this spreadsheet, guys, all you have to do is type in the gray boxes. Do not touch any of the other boxes. I made it like training wheels, right? All you have to do is get in and pedal. So you don't have to touch any of these other numbers. The only thing you have to do is if you want to add rows, you just highlight the number over here and for the amount of rows that you want to put in. Okay. Like if it's like an 8 unit or 10 unit or 20 unit or whatever. So let's just assume, just for easy math, that this building is full. Okay. And let's say it's how many square feet is this building? Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you guys got here. What do you think? Someone throw out a number for me. Let's do this. I want everyone to see like how we can do that. Garrett says 8,000. Love it. Quick on the draw, Garrett. Love that dude. Okay, boom, boom. Okay, here we are. So we got 8,000. So it's 8,000 square feet. Now, what we got here is we have $153,600 of occupied space. That's what you call your gross rent. Okay. Now, because there's no vacancy, this line is left blank. That's for another day. Okay. But what I want you to see is there $153,000 is what comes in rents. Okay. Now, this line item. It's called other income. Can anybody tell me some things that are income for a building? Let's just say an apartment building, right? Multifamily building. What are some things that would constitute other income? Go ahead and type them in. Let's see what we got. Let's see how creative we can get, guys. Okay. We got the laundry. We got washer dryer rental. Love it. Vending machines. Heck yeah. Internet. Good one. Parking space. Okay. Good, guys. Sweet. All right. Love it. Garage space. Okay. Yep. You can talk parking lot, vending. All right. Real good. Pet fees. Yeah. Now we're talking, Fern. That's a good one. Signage, you name it. All right. Cool. So guys, these are all things that could be additional income or other income, right? Because it's not the base rent. It's not what people pay necessarily to live in their apartment. It might be for additional storage space. It might be for parking space. It might be for vending, you name it. Okay. So let's throw out a number. Someone throw me out a number for what the other income is for this property. So you can see, I'm going to change every number in this sheet so you can understand how it works. Someone just throw out a number for me. First one in the chat gets it. There we go. Todd says 2,500. Sweet. I love that. Boom, boom. There we go. Okay. Which, as you notice, when I entered that in, it adds the potential gross income plus the other income to equal the gross potential income. Now, remember this, folks. Okay. No building will ever stay 100% full 100% of the time for 100% of eternity, right? It's impossible, right? And for the landlords, here's another little pro tip for you. For landlords that are 100% full all the time, guess what? They're under market. They're leaving money on the table. But there's a fine balance between always pushing the rents and always having a little bit of vacancy. You want to have a little bit of vacancy because otherwise it means you're not pushing the rents enough, just as a thought. Okay. So next up. So what we have to accompany for, right? And we usually do it in the form of a percentage. It's usually somewhere between, let's say, 4 and 10%. Let's just say, is we have to put in a factor for the people that they move out in the middle of the night and don't pay their rent. The people that flat out just don't pay their rent. The people that, there's some downtime. If one tenant moves out, you got to repaint it. You got to change some kitchen cabinets and toilet, blah, 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 blah. It's going to cost you some time, right? So you can never be 100% occupied 100% of the time. So we apply a percentage to this. So somebody throw out a number between 5 and 10% for the vacancy and collections, right? Let's see for the vacancy and collections percentage. Let's throw that number out there. Harminder says 10. Love it. Okay. So maybe this is in an area that like it's harder to keep tenants, or maybe there's a lot of turnover. Maybe it's a college town and they're constantly turning people over and people are going belly up on the rents, right? But if you notice, I typed the number in this gray box. Remember, guys, you don't have to touch any of these other numbers. These other numbers, if you touch them, it'll mess up the formulas. So just in the gray boxes is the only thing you have to fill out. You type this in here, and now we know that our potential gross income plus other income equals gross potential income. It subtracts the vacancy and collections and gives you the effective gross income. So far, so good on that, guys. Type a 1 in the chat if you guys are with me on this so far. It should be relatively straightforward. Okay, I gave you some of the concepts. We understand cap rate. Now we're actually applying it to a real world example. And guys, I have sold tens of millions of dollars of real estate a year using this simple one-page spreadsheet. You do not need these bazillion pages and tabs. Frankly, just remember, BS baffles minds, right? A confused mind does not make a decision. You don't want to give a seller too much information. You give them too much information, they're going to say, let me think about it. Okay. That's the dreaded words. Let me talk to my wife. When people get too much information, it makes them feel embarrassed, it makes them feel intimidated, and they do not make a decision, right? Is this the same information found on the T12? Yes, oftentimes, yes, Timothy. What the purpose of a T12 is they just want to see, T12 stands for trailing 12 months operating expenses. And what you're going to do is you're going to find, okay, what do they spend in utilities in this month and that month and this month? What it allows you to do is view for cyclicality. You know, maybe in the winter, they spent more money on natural gas because they're trying to heat the place. Maybe in the summer, because they're using AC, they're spending more on electricity. Having a 12-month picture allows you to see the seasonality, the ebbs and flows of different operating expenses. Great question, Timothy. So what happens here, guys, is, okay, somebody do me a favor and throw me a number out between $12,000 and $18,000. Type a number between $12,000 and $18,000 in the chat. And we're going to put that in for our real estate taxes. Okay, George says 13.5. Let's do it. 13,500. Love it. Okay. Now, guys, what I want to draw your attention to is this column here. Okay. What this column shows you, right, is this column will show you what the percentage, okay, is of the operating expenses that are attributed to the real estate taxes. Y'all with me on that one, guys? Okay. Very, very important to understand. So 9.59%, okay, of the effective gross income is attributable to real estate taxes, right? Because you see 140,000 and this is 13.5. It's a little less than 10%. See that there, guys? So so just remember, look at all these other numbers. They're significantly smaller, which means, okay, the real estate taxes are the expense you have to pay the most attention to. Who cares if the janitorial goes up a little or the landscaping goes up a little? Those are less than 1%. This is nearly 10% of the EGI, guys. This is what's going to move the needle. So when your client says, you think I should get try to appeal my taxes? 100% of the time, you should appeal your taxes. Yes, yes, and yes. Okay. So very important to understand. So right here, guys, we're going to, we just typed in 13,500. Boom. Okay. Next one. I live in Florida here, so we have a windstorm can oftentimes be very expensive. Somebody type a number in the chat in between $3,500 and $4,500. Let's see. Let's throw one out there. Let's see. George has got 4,250. Love it. 4,250. Boom. Okay. Cool. Maintenance and repairs. We got a 6-unit place. Let's say the stove goes bad every 10 years. Let's say the refrigerator goes bad every 10 years. Let's say the toilet needs to be changed every 10 years. Let's say you've got, I don't know, $1,500 worth of repairs each year. Just when you smooth it out over a 10-year period, you repaint it once a year for $1,500. And then you do these other things, change out. Maybe you got to change the, sand the floors down every 10 years, right? So let's just say it's $1,500 a year. So let's just do it. It's $1,500 times 6 units. What's that come out to, guys? $7,500. Okay, that's how you use kind of common sense to figure, what the repairs and maintenance on a unit should be. Okay, so check this out, guys. The management fee. Somebody give me a number between 4% and 8%. Let's go ahead and do that. Right. The management fee is if the owner is like hands off and is like, I just want a check at the end of the month. Okay, boom, you can do that. But mind you, the spreadsheet rounds things up unless you go up here and you go out to 2 decimal points, just as a heads up. Okay, so 6.5%, boom. You're paying $10,000 in management. I think that's expensive, but that's just me. I would never pay somebody $800 a month to go and pick up 6 rent checks. That's lazy, but that's just me, guys. I manage the properties that I own, right? So here we go. Water. Somebody throw a number in here between $700 and $1,500. Let's throw out a water bill, right? Because we want to have an accurate picture. And then I'm going to tell you what all this means in just a second. Let's go with, okay, cool. Karen says $850. Sweet. Let's do it. Okay. All right. Now the next one is going to be landscaping. Let's say he's got his son-in-law to do it and he does it for $60 a month. What does that come out to? $720 a year. Sweet. And the electric, let's say the owner has $100 a month for some outside lights for the parking lot. That's going to be $1,200. Okay. And the common area maintenance, let's say he pays a neighborhood kid to come and pick up at, I don't know, $50 a month. That's going to be $600 for the year. And then janitorial, let's say someone comes and mops the floors and they charge it $100 a month. All right. Boom. Now, look at this, folks. Okay, what I want to draw your attention to is that $39,000 of the $140,000 represents 28% operating expenses. Now, operating expenses are what's called regular and recurring. Can anybody give me an example of some operating expenses? What is regular and recurring in a building? Let's talk about expenses. What are some expenses that you get every month, every year, every quarter, right? Over and over and over again, right? Utilities, electric, water bill, love it. Okay, guys. Sewage, exactly. You guys got this. Okay, now let's juxtapose that with what are some expenses that are not operating expenses. They're not regular recurring. They're every once in a while, every 5 years, every 10 years, every 15 years. What are some of those repairs? Give me some examples, folks. Appliances. Yep. Okay. Unexpected repairs. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the structure, guys. What do you think? There we go, Tim. Yep. Roof. The roof is on fire. Exactly. Right. The roof. What else? Come on. Let's go. The roof. That's good. AC. Yep. There we go. Plumbing. Now we're talking heating. Yep. You guys are getting it. Parking lot. Okay. You guys are getting it. So remember, you have operating expenses and you have capital expenses, and they're treated differently by your accountant, but that's a subject for another day. Okay. But the thing I want you to understand is, folks, when someone gives you operating expenses, they need to be, for an industrial property, somewhere between, like, I don't know, 31 and 33% of the EGI. And for an apartment building like that, these actually should be a little higher. They should be probably between like 39 and 41%. Now, mind you, that has to do with, what some of the costs are for insurance and stuff in South Florida, and property tax. In other areas of the country, those percentages might be a little bit smaller. But just know that, like, if an owner gives you operating expenses for a building and this is 15%, don't believe them. It's way too low. Okay. You want to look very, very closely at what these represent. Now, the final thing I want to show you about tonight, guys, before we hop off, and I saw someone asked about the sheet, about how they want to get a copy of it. What we do, we'll have you hit up my team, and then just type in hashtag sheet. In fact, right now, type in hashtag sheet if you want a copy of the sheet. And we'll make sure we get you over a copy of it. Okay, guys? So what we got here, right, is we got the price, and we have the cap rate. Now, what you'll notice, there's a gray box here. At $1 million for this $100,000 NOI, that's a 10% cap rate. Okay. So what you'll notice is, guys, let's say I'm an investor and I want a 12% cap rate. Okay. Remember what I showed you before, guys, right? The value goes up, cap rate goes down, cap rate goes up, value goes down, right? So if I want to buy this building at a 12% cap rate, should the price go up or should the price go down? What do you got? Up or down? Put it in the chat. Show me what you got. Down. Yes, indeed. Down. Sweet. Exactly. Okay, so let's put this down to 850,000. Look at that. Not bad. The kid's pretty good. There we go. Boom. Okay, about 835,000. The reason I know that is because when the cap rate goes down, the cap rate goes up, the price goes down. Okay. And I also know that 100 divided by 12 is about 8.5. So it's what's called the inverse. So you take 100, you divide it by the cap rate, and you're left with a number. That's usually what that number will be. Anyhow, so guys, do you see how this works? Type a yes in the chat if you see how to input the rent, how to subtract out the operating expenses, how to convert the cap rate. Let's say I wanted to buy this thing at a 5 cap. Okay, what do you think that's going to be worth? Woo! Let's look at this. Let's go with $1.8 million. Look at this. Boom. Look at that. How about this? How about $1.9 million? Look at that. Still more. 1,950. Oh, even more. 2 million. Look at that. Oops. Not enough zeros. Boom. Okay, cool. So guys, you'll see, right? Because 100 divided by 0.05 equals about $2 million. Okay. So that's how you manipulate to find, let's say you had an investor that was looking to buy a property that had $100,000 of NOI. Guess what? The way you figure out what they're willing to pay is by playing with this number. If you want the cap rate to go up, this number comes down. If you want the price to go down, the cap rate's going to come up. That makes sense for everybody? Yep. Alette says, where do we get the recording? I'm on my phone and can't see the worksheet. No problem. If you just type in like hashtag recording, someone will make sure that we get it over to you. All right. So the team will go through the chat tomorrow. Okay. So the lending rate need to be around 10.5. Yeah. Like if I had to get 12%, good deduction, Harminder. Yeah. The lending rate would have to be, if I'm, let's say, I'm borrowing money from like a hard money lender and it's 10.5%, then I would need to get a 12% rate of return in order for the building to make sense. Why? Because there's about a 1.5 spread above that. Okay. Good questions. So guys, if you guys want this, type hashtag sheet. Okay. Garrett says, Christian, if the investor is wanting a 12% cap rate, how do we know if the seller will come down on the price of the property? And there's only one way of knowing. You put up the flag and you see who salutes. You know, that's the only way of knowing. Typically 12% is pretty egregious. Frankly, you're lucky if you can find an 8 cap in most markets. You know, some markets you might get it, but for the most part, you know, markets that there's a lot of velocity, the 12 caps aren't just going to be laying around on the ground, you know. But if this makes sense, guys, if you've gotten a lot of value out of today, type hashtag value. I just want to make sure you got value out of the valuation training. Okay. Thanks for everybody for stopping by. We'll make sure that our team gets a copy of the sheet out to you. And I would look forward to seeing you on the masterclass. And of course, next Monday at 5:30 Eastern. Take care, folks. Have a good night. We'll talk later.